Breaking news! The Minnesota Vikings are entering one of the most pivotal training camps in years, and they may be about to make some roster decisions that no fan saw coming. Yes, we're talking surprise cuts, changes that could shake up the locker room and leave Minnesota fans in stitches. And no, this isn't just speculation for the sake of headlines. This comes straight from an in-depth look at the Vikings' current situation heading into the season. I'll tell you all about it in detail, but first, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. The first bombshell revolves around running back Ty Chandler. If you've been following his career since North Carolina, you know how high expectations were for him. Many, including longtime fans from his SKOL side days, believed he was destined to be a key part of this offense. But the brutal reality of the NFL is setting in. Ty Chandler simply didn't live up to those expectations. Last season was a disappointment. Despite the opportunity created by Aaron Jones's absence, Chandler managed just 56 carries for 182 yards, averaging a disappointing 3.2 yards per carry. Worse still, his struggles with blitz catching, a non-negotiable skill for running backs trying to earn a spot in Kevin O'Connell's offense. Financially, the numbers start to make sense for the Vikings. Releasing Ty Chandler after June 1st would save the team $1.1 million in 2025, with a minimal dead cap hit of just $74,000. Nothing in 2026. But let's be clear, this potential cut isn't entirely about money. It's about competition. The Vikings' backfield is suddenly crowded. After trading for Jordan Mason and having veteran Aaron Jones locked in, there are already 2 guaranteed spots. Fullback C.J. Ham locks up a third. That leaves Chandler battling with Xavier Scott, Trey Stewart, and others for what could be only 1 or 2 remaining spots. And don't sleep on Trey Stewart. He's making a legitimate push, particularly because of his potential impact as a kick returner. If Chandler doesn't solidify himself as a must-have contributor on special teams, his spot is absolutely on the chopping block. This isn't a case of a guy falling out of favor. It's a harsh numbers game, and Chandler might be the odd man out. But if you think that's shocking, brace yourselves. Wide receiver Jalen Nailor is the next name being discussed in Viking circles. And this one stings even more. Fans who followed closely remember the optimism when he was drafted out of Michigan State. His speed, his ability to stretch the field, the flashes of brilliance he showed with 6 touchdowns last season, all reasons to believe he was destined to be the wide receiver 3 of the future for this team. And yet, here we are. Just like with Chandler, the financial logic is staring the front office in the face. Cutting Nailor post-June 1 saves $1.1 million in 2025 with a mere $45,000 dead cap hit. And while the money matters, the real issue is roster construction. Jefferson, Addison, and Ty Felton are all locks. Rondale Moore? Practically guaranteed. That means the real fight is for the WR5 or WR6 spots. And with UDFA Silas Bolden impressing as a kick returner, and veterans like Lucky Jackson and the Thomas in the mix, Nailor suddenly finds himself walking a razor-thin line. Let's not forget the elephant in the room either, Jordan Addison's looming suspension. Expected to miss anywhere from 1 to 3 games to start the season, this alone could be Nailor's saving grace. Without Addison, the Vikings need reliable bodies behind Justin Jefferson. Would they really roll into Week 1 with a bare-bones receiver room? Probably not. But here's the dilemma. Is keeping Nailor just a temporary band-aid until Addison returns? And what happens after? You could even imagine a scenario where the Vikings shop Nailor at the trade deadline. Maybe some receiver-needy team offers a 5th or 6th round pick. Would that be worth it? That's the kind of front office math Minnesota is dealing with right now. And then there's linebacker Brian Asamoah. This one will make fans split right down the middle. A freak athlete out of Oklahoma, Asamoah has been a special teams demon. Whether it's punt coverage, kickoff units, or simply being a high-energy guy flying around the field, he's made his presence felt every week. But as painful as it is to admit, his role on defense never truly developed the way the Vikings had hoped. And yes, the financial conversation pops up yet again. Post-June 1 release? $1.4 million saved in 2025, with only $300,000 in dead cap. It's the same pattern. A meaningful amount of cap flexibility in exchange for a player whose primary value is now mostly on special teams. But here's the counterpoint that fans can't ignore. cutting Asamoah removes one of the best special teams players from this roster. Time and time again, he made game-changing plays, fumble recoveries, crucial tackles that pinned opponents deep, hustle plays that flipped momentum. You can't coach that kind of energy. And finding replacements who bring that same juice to special teams isn't easy. But this decision isn't as simple as special teams value. It's about linebacker depth, too. With other linebackers emerging and the team potentially shifting how they deploy defensive personnel under Brian Flores, Asamoah's future is murky at best. Then we come to Blake Brandel, the versatile offensive lineman who was forced into action as a starting left guard for parts of last season. His performance? A tale of two halves. When playing next to Christian Darrisaw, Brandel looked solid. But when Darrisaw got hurt, the cracks started showing. Brandel allowed 5 sacks in the final 10 games and surrendered 31 pressures. His worst outings came against the Lions and the Rams, where it frankly looked like the game was moving too fast for him. And yet, cutting Brandel isn't as straightforward as the others. Offensive line depth is a premium in the NFL. The Vikings know all too well how quickly things unravel when 1 or 2 starters go down. Brandel can play both guard and tackle, which adds huge value. When you factor in Brian O'Neill's aging profile and Will Fry's injury history, having a plug-and-play backup like Brandel suddenly feels a lot less expendable. But again, the financials creep in. Is it worth saving a couple million if it means sacrificing experience depth at one of the most injury-prone positions in football? This is where things get tricky for the front office. None of these players are bad. None of these are cap casualties purely because of poor play. It's about maximizing roster spots, balancing special teams with offensive and defensive needs, and trying to build the best 53-man roster possible heading into the regular season. Now, Vikings fans, I want to hear from you. These names, Ty Chandler, Jalen Nailor, Brian Asamoah, Blake Brandel, are any of them worth cutting in your opinion? And let's be honest, this is where it all gets even more intense because the decisions don't just impact depth charts, they could shape how competitive this team is come week 1. Think about the ripple effect. If the Vikings roll the dice and cut a guy like Brian Asamoah, who's been a difference maker on special teams, how does that impact field position battles? Or if Blake Brandel is let go and suddenly there's an injury to Christian Darrisaw or Brian O'Neill, do the Vikings have anyone reliable to step up? This is the razor-thin margin NFL teams walk every year. And the question isn't just about today, it's about October, November, when the injuries pile up and depth becomes the difference between a playoff push or an early offseason. So now it's your turn. Do the Vikings take the risk or play it safe? Drop your opinion in the comments, hit that like button if you love this type of deep dive, and don't forget to subscribe to stay locked into everything happening with the Minnesota Vikings.